Hello, everyone. Jenna here. Thank you so much for joining us. At Million Marker, we champion for a healthier world, and it is our responsibility to inspire change by empowering people to make educated decisions about their product and food purchases. While there are governing bodies that were supposed to regulate what we can purchase, not enough is done. It is on us as consumers to become our own health advocates and to inspire change at manufacturing and as well as legislative level. This is why we're really, really excited today to be joined by Zen Honeycutt, the founder of Moms Across America. We have been huge fans of Moms Across America. Their mission is to educate and empower mothers and others with actions and solutions to create healthier communities. So I'm going to... Hi, Zen.
Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm late. I was clicking on the wrong million. There's another million marker. But
Really?
thanks for being patient.
No, it's all good. It's all good. There's always like glitches. It's all good. I gave like a super brief intro, and then while we're being like silent, I just told everyone to definitely check out Moms Across America website. There's so much good info out there on your website. Lots of studies, reports, products, and everything.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being patient, everybody. Nice to see you, Mama Bear, and everybody else. And see you, Jenna. Appreciate it.
Yep. So tell us a little bit like how your background and then how you became a family health advocate.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I think a lot of people that are on today are going to be able to relate because, like many of you, I had children that were struggling with health issues. They all of a sudden, out of nowhere, had, allergies. Like one of them had life-threatening allergies, almost died on Thanksgiving evening from a pecan in the stuffing. Some had allergies to eggs. Another one had an allergy to gluten, or two had allergies to gluten. Another one had allergies to nuts. Or the one that almost died was the allergy to nuts. And anyway, autoimmune issues, later on autism symptoms. And my husband and I were like, what the heck is going on? Because he and I did not have those issues, right? And I started talking to other moms in moms clubs and started seeing that they had kids with issues too. The numbers of behavioral issues were spiking. And I had moms that had babies that were allergic to black pepper or to mango or to strawberries. That was a little more common because people thought, oh, that must be the pesticides. But, just the apples, like who's allergic to apples, And so I started looking into it thinking, this can't just be my kid. This has got to be the food. There's got to be something that's gone on with the food. And Robin O'Brien posted a TED Talk called Patriotism on a Plate, talking about how her child blew up like my child did when she had yogurt and waffles or something for breakfast. And I was like, wait a second, something's going on here. And I learned about genetically modified foods and the chemicals, especially that come with them, that can cause these devastating health effects in our children. So I've been working on it for over 10 years now. And a lot of our followers that are watching right now, hi, Alessandra and Sam Hill and everybody, I'm sure that you have been working along with this, a lot of you with this, with me on this along the way.
Wow, that is so impressive. So tell us, what is Moms Across America?
Well, so I started Moms Across America about 6 months after I found out about genetically modified foods. And I joined into the Prop 37 GMO labeling initiative. And when we lost that, I said, this can't be it. We can't just accept that there's, genetically modified foods and pesticides in our foods and they're not labeled, So I said, we need to do something about this. So I asked myself, how could we raise awareness with as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time? And that was 4th of July parades for me. This idea came up to join into 4th of July parades where you could raise awareness with thousands locally and millions nationally in a single day. And it worked. I mean, I have to say, I'm devastated by the tragedy that happened this weekend in Chicago. That is really, just sullying that whole, beautiful experience. But back then it really worked. We had 179 groups that joined in 37 states, and some parades you reached maybe 5,000 people. There were small town parades, but some of them they reached 200,000 people in person with banners saying Moms Across America march to label GMOs. And, Uncle Marty would elbow his wife and be like, honey, what's a GMO? While he's drinking his Coke and eating Doritos. And she'd be like, I don't know, I'll look it up. And of course, the women would look it up and research and tell their family members. And that's all we wanted to have happen, was for people to begin to become aware of what GMOs are, what and how that 80% of them are genetically modified to withstand glyphosate, which I'm sure we'll talk about more later.
Yes.
But it just blew up from there. We went from 0 on Facebook and our website to reaching 300,000 a week in less than 4 months. So people were really excited about this idea of joining in 4th of July parades and letting people know about GMOs and toxic chemicals. And I don't blame them, because when they took them out of their diet, like we saw, their kids got better. Their rashes improved, their sleep improved, their behavioral and learning issues improved. And when you see it happen right in front of your eyes within days or weeks, you want to tell everybody about it. Mm-hmm. And that's what our moms have been doing. And I'm so proud of them that they have really turned the tide. Because before that, GMOs and these toxic chemicals were in our food supply for 20 years. 20 years. And you didn't hear much about it. There were no lawsuits. There was nobody on the news talking about it. And so I really think that our moms played a major role, because they were, speaking up for the safety and health of their children and the futures of their children, their behavioral issues. If they can get those sorted out, then you can achieve so much more in school, and accomplish what you're here to accomplish. And so when moms started seeing that happen, they're like, we're just going to tell everybody.
Well, we're living in a healthier world, actually, thanks to all the mothers, because BPA wouldn't have been banned. It's like one of the chemicals that we test. BPA wouldn't have been banned if it wasn't conscious mothers to getting a ban out of baby products. Then more people become more aware, manufacturers become more aware. Now we see all BPA-free stuff.
Yes, the plastics are a huge thing that I have not been able to devote enough time to, but we do share about. And we are so grateful for the people like you who are raising awareness about BPAs and PFAS and phthalates and parabens. Parabens was actually the first thing that I found out about. That's, if you go way back to how I got into this, it was because I read a study about the fish off the coast of Malibu that were being tested, just random testing. They were the biologists were just checking in on them, and they noticed that 50% of them were hermaphrodites. And this was over 20 years ago. And they blamed it on the parabens, these chemicals that are in sunscreen and body care products, getting into the ocean and actually changing the hormones of these fish. And I was like, wait a second, I've got it. At the time I had a couple-month-old baby, and I started looking into it. I found out my friend's mother died of cancer at 57. God bless her. She was one of the most amazing people on the planet. And it was because she had thyroid disease, thyroid cancer, and they blamed it on environmental chemicals like parabens. So it was the parabens and the, other types of chemicals and plastics and things that kind of got me started and going in this direction and researching. Because before that, I just thought that everything on the shelf that you could buy was safe. The shampoos and the lotions and the food, I just bought whatever looked good. I just figured that the agencies had actually done their job and were regulating these products. And lo and behold, you and I and many people watching out there now have discovered that is not the case.
Yeah, unfortunately. But you have so much information on your website and many studies and reports, how do you stay up to date with all these great information?
Well, I'm very blessed to be connected through some farmers, first of all, to scientists and researchers and lawyers. And we have an email thread of probably a couple hundred of us. And these are some of these are scientists from around the world. I've had the opportunity to go to a food safety conference in Beijing where they had 2 people from 15 different countries there. And those scientists, we all had like 20 minutes to speak, and I was one of them. And I was the only one speaking about the health effects of glyphosate and GMOs on children. Although Stephanie Seneff did speak about it a little bit, but I focused only on children. Everybody else was speaking about the effects on so many, pigs and cows and the soil and corn, all these different areas. And so anyway, I've had the opportunity to meet in person and to communicate with researchers and scientists that most people would not have the opportunity to connect with. And they largely share these studies with me because of Moms Across America, because they know that moms, people like you that are watching right now, will take this information and run with it. And I've had scientists tell me that moms are going to do way more to transform the food industry than scientists.
Absolutely.
And I love that. We can't do without scientists, but I kind of get what he means, because we will keep telling people and keep telling people and keep telling people. And you can fire a scientist, but you can't fire a mom.
Yes.
So we won't keep at it, and I get what he means. And I even had a legislator tell me that they are more afraid of moms than any other grassroots group out there. So I'm really proud of, and I hope to represent moms to the best of my ability, that just fierce dedication to protecting our children and to supporting not just our children, but our community's children, right? And our world's children, to have the most fulfilling future that we can have.
Absolutely. So it's like so much useful information, and sometimes parents or anybody it can be scary and overwhelming, and people kind of have this fear mindset. And that's actually one of the uphill battle that we're facing, that we're not trying to fear monger people, we're trying to really empower them. So how do you empower parents to kind of switch from this fear mindset to be empowered by this information?
Yeah. So what I do is I try to remind people to take it, one article at a time, one study at a time, and read it so that you can remember something about it and share it with somebody else. I think so many of us are just scrolling and we're not even remembering that information. For me, I have to really stop and read it. And then I share it sometimes like with my husband or with a friend, later on days, so that it gets in my brain and I can remember to share it with other people later. So read something and absorb information with the intention of sharing it with other people, and go ahead and do that. And then it won't seem overwhelming, because you'll be like, okay, I learned this thing and I shared it with somebody else, and that was useful, right? Like I made a difference for that person, and it made a difference for me to learn that. So take it one step at a time. And then the other thing I would invite people to consider is that our opposition, who I would assert to say is not really just the government. It is the corporations who are greedy and will do whatever they can to sell their products, and they influence the government, right? They really have a stronghold on them. They don't give up either, like they keep going and they pay people to keep going.
Yeah.
And if we want to have any chance in hell of turning this around, we need to just, pull on our big girl boots every day and get out there and keep at this. We cannot give up. It's just the future of our country and our planet is at stake here. And we need to keep telling people what is safe and what's not safe for our families.
Absolutely. So you've done a ton of work on glyphosate, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. And so for those who don't know so much about glyphosate, could you briefly explain, what is glyphosate? Like, why is it super problematic?
Okay, I don't know how brief it will be. I will try. But glyphosate is the declared active chemical ingredient in Roundup. And I say declared because there are many active ingredients, but they call glyphosate the active ingredient. And glyphosate was found, started used back in the 70s. I think it was discovered around the 50s or something. I'm not sure the exact date, but it was found to chelate pipes, like to clean out pipes. That's because it was pipe cleaner, meaning it chelated the minerals on the inside of the pipes and grabbed them, right? And stripped the pipes off of these minerals and deposits and things like that. And it survived. Glyphosate glyphosate kept doing what it was doing, regardless of, and like many other types of chemical reactions. It was very virulent, and it could kill any living thing it touched. And so what they discovered is that it functions through that chelation, and that chelation, when it touched, say, a plant, it would chelate, meaning make unavailable. It would grab onto and hold and make unavailable the vital nutrients of any living thing it touched. And so it essentially, in the words of Don Huber, who's like a 60-year plant pathologist, it essentially gave the plant AIDS, right? It weakened its immune system so much that the plant would then die of any normally harmless bacteria in the soil, right? So
Crazy.
you've got this chelating, chemical that can kill anything it touches. And so it was very effective. But they mixed it also then when Roundup with all of these other surfactants and, heavy metals and arsenic and all these things. But they continue to only do the testing on glyphosate. So since then, they found out it's also an endocrine disruptor, meaning it disrupts hormones and causes reproductive effects. It actually kills sperm and harms sperm in 4 different ways: form, function, mobility, and form, function, mobility, and one other way, quantity.
Quantity.
And so basically Monsanto's product, which is now Bayer's product, glyphosate, is making men sterile and putting the future of the human race at risk. And it's also has been shown to cause androgenization in female babies, meaning the mothers that were exposed to glyphosate, their female babies had a longer anogenital distance between the anus and the genitals, which is a marker of masculinization. And so lots of different effects to the cervix and the uterus and all kinds of other reproductive effects. And it also causes cancer. And people will argue about this, so the pro-GMO proponents will argue about this, but the IARC found glyphosate to be a definite animal carcinogen and a probable human carcinogen. But the last time I checked, we were of the animal species. So, the only reason why they could say that is because they didn't perform the same tests on humans as they did on rats, right? So they'll say it's only probable for humans. Well, but it's not ethical. I asked the EPA directly, I said to them, you don't have proof that this is safe for humans to allow it in our food, and it showed up in our breast milk and stuff, things like that. And they said, we have plenty of safety studies. And I said, but not on humans, you don't. And they said, well, of course not, because it's not ethical to test pesticides on humans. I said, well, if it's not ethical to test pesticides on humans, how is it ethical to allow them on our food, right?
Exactly.
And in our breast milk and in our children. I said, you need to stop it, and you need to stop it now. I am just furious with the lack of action by the EPA. So glyphosate's a carcinogen, an endocrine disruptor, a chelator. It causes liver and kidney disease. If you understand the way that glyphosate works, you understand why Anthony Semstel and Stephanie Seneff were called quacks and Looney Tunes and all of that by the scientific community, because they don't believe that one chemical could be this responsible, this held responsible for this many different diseases. It's actually 40 different Western diseases that glyphosate has been reported to be a major contributing factor to. So you understand why they kind of had to disrupt that thinking, because it's too disturbing and it sounds too crazy. It sounds crazy, right? But when you understand how it works, you get why they said that and why they continue to say that.
That is really scary. And it's also, if you already have a ton of animal studies and then showing it's killing the plants, it can't be good for humans anyway.
No,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
And it's harmful for bees, it's harmful for birds, it's water soluble, meaning it goes into the soil and then into the water, and it harms fish in so many ways. Our endangered species have been harmed so much by the EPA themselves said that glyphosate harms 93% of endangered species and 97% of their endangered habitats. So why they're continuing to allow this chemical in our environment can only be explained by corporate corruption. There's really, if they were doing their jobs, they would have banned this a long time ago.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I know it's still being sold. Roundup is still being sold at Home Depot and then all these other places. You have a great safe weeding recommendation on your website. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So number one, we recommend hand weeding and mulch and permaculture and, thick layers of straw. I mean, there's a lot of ways to prevent weeds. But if you're talking about, your front driveway or your patio or, around the edge of your fences or, things like that, or if you have an uncle that you could not pry Roundup out of his cold dead hands, right? I've been told that. I cannot get Roundup out of my uncle's hands. Well, you can actually purchase we have right now, we have 2 recommendations. In the past, we recommended pulverized, but right now we're really focusing on raising awareness about contact organics. They have a product called Weed Terminator. You have to mix it right now. So for some people, that's a little tricky, but it's very effective, and it actually has been shown to improve the quality of the soil, the microbiome in the soil. So we really like that. And I have used it on my property and it totally works. And so we love that, but it's not available in all 50 states right now. So we also recommend Avenger, which is, I think it's called limon based, citrus based. Mm-hmm. And it's also very effective, and it is available in all 50 states. So there are many different types of, weed killers out there. But if you purchase these through us at Moms Across America, to be straightforward, you do support our work. So we appreciate that. And we the people who create these products, we really like them. Like, we have had multiple conversations with them. We know their values. We know where they're coming from. And I really need to say they are very good people.
Yeah, I also mentioned in the beginning while I was waiting for you, you have like a ton of amazing product recommendations, and these 2 are definitely on the website, and we'll include the in all the links promoting this Instagram live. So since we're on the like product topic, like how do you go about curating these products? I know you really understand the manufacturers, you really get to know them, and before you recommend, what else do you do?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I want to say straight off the bat that we started out as a nonprofit educational organization. We had no intention of selling products. That was never our intention. But we've had so many moms ask us, what do you guys recommend? And I have such a discerning team of moms that are scrutinizing. I mean, they asked every question about vitamin E or vitamin C or the source of this and the source of that. They ask every question that, anybody could consider, that nothing gets by our moms. So I started seeing them as like, this is just a huge resource. And, our network as well, we reach, anywhere from 1 million to 4 million people a month. Like, people recommend things to us all the time. And if I start seeing something being recommended often enough, I take notice, I take a look at it. We have some of our people on our team call up and ask these hard questions. We get everything in writing. We see the ingredients. We have to sign NDAs, right, for a lot of them to get the proprietary ingredients. But we promise that we do not promote anything unless we've gone through that process and we know what's in there. And we've asked them, do you batch test, for pesticides? Do you, what is their source? And what, in all of those questions. And we've gone through a really rigorous process with them. But most of them are just recommended by moms, from people like that are watching right now. They've said, I've used this for my son with autism. For instance, we have a colostrum product on our website, and there are so many autism moms that have said, like, I have to use this for my son every day. Like, it makes it, when I don't, I can see it. It makes a huge difference. The product called Ion Biome, which used to be Restore, that was recommended to us for probably 1.5 years before I took it really seriously, because they just kept telling me, you've got to make this available to people. And what I realized is that it's not enough to tell people about the problems. You've got to share a solution with them, Yes. And we're not doing this to make millions of dollars. Believe me, we do not make, we cover the costs and make it a little bit enough to be able to cover, having the website up and things like that. Yeah. We're not making millions of dollars from this, like Mercola. But if people shared the word, and more people bought those products from us, we would definitely be able to hire more staff, have like regional managers. We'd be able to get the word out about all of these problems so that they didn't exist anymore. We really want a food supply where GMOs and chemicals like glyphosate are obsolete. They're just not an issue anymore. And we need to get to a tipping point, a number of people that understand this, so that we can have a safe food supply and safe environment. So we appreciate your support. If you check out the products on our website, many of them are very unique. Like, you're not going to find them in other places. And they're very, very effective. Like our molecular hydrogen product and the minerals that we have. They're very effective, but there is a little bit of a learning curve. Like, you do have to really read about, to learn more about it. They're not just like vitamin C, right? Or vitamin D, where you can get those anywhere. So, yeah.
I mean, these are also tried and true product, which is really amazing, yes. Especially if a mom have a kid with autism, this could be life-saving.
Yes, absolutely. Totally turned it. We've had so many people tell us, oh, 3 days after using, Ion Biome or something, my child was starting to sleep better and had behavioral issues and that were resolving. And using the minerals, the Omni Blue minerals or the quintessential minerals, people say, help them with their constipation, which then, helps with behavioral issues and sleeping issues and all of that kind of stuff. So we have had a lot of testimonies from people telling us that these products support them. Maybe not everybody, we're not going to say for everybody,
Yeah.
but I know the moms I know are willing to try something, right? Like, let's just give it a go and try it for a couple of weeks or a month or two and see how it works. And for a lot of people, my goal is that people get so much better that they don't need the supplements anymore, right? It's like a transitional product to use so that your body can heal itself. But right now, the food supply is so depleted of minerals, for instance, and so heavily laden with toxins that we're not even giving our bodies a chance. And so I know people say, oh, well, food will do it. But no, you need like 50 servings of spinach to get the same amount of spinach today that you would have gotten back in the 1930s. You need, your body, most of our bodies are inflamed. Our guts are inflamed with all this types of inflammation because of all these chemicals. And if you keep putting glyphosate in, right, and you don't support the microbiome in the gut like Ion Biome does or these minerals do, then it's like you're continuing to pour, even if it's just a teaspoon of fuel on the fire, right? You have to completely cold turkey, go 100% organic, and then you have to put the supplements in that support the gut microbiome. It's like a desert in there, folks. Like there's hardly any, of the good bacteria left. Like we need to restore that desert into a lush jungle of, microbiota, the microbes, and then your body will be able to heal itself. All the little microbes will be talking to each other and communicating. And when a virus comes, it'll be like, I got this, and it'll take it out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or if you start getting sleepy, it's like, yes, good. We need melatonin now. It's time to sleep. And your body will produce that melatonin or that serotonin. All of that is in the gut. So you've got to give your body a chance by taking care of the gut microbiome. That's what our products.
I was really shocked when I first talked to you and Kelly. We also had Kelly on, Glyphosate Girl, to talk about glyphosate. I was really shocked that, because of the action of glyphosate, it's really chelating all the nutrients. So if you're eating that food where there's no nutrient in it, that even like you're kind of thinking about you eating all these great food and then you have all these nutrients, but you actually don't. And then you're adding on more glyphosate into your body, which is like a really, really crazy.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I have to tell this story because this was so disturbing to me. Okay, so in the Smithsonian magazine, my dad used to live with us when I was taking care of him for the last 18 months of his life, which I highly recommend, by the way, to take care of the elderly. And he loved the Smithsonian magazine. And I'm flipping through it one day. And I saw this article about a farmer who had either hamsters or gerbils in Germany. And he was noticing a massive depletion of these little critters. And he wondered why. He called the local university and said, would anybody from your, zoology or biology department want to come out and study, like, why are there suddenly none of these hamsters? Let's just call them hamsters around. Okay. And so they took these hamsters and they studied them and they found out that they were massively depleted with vitamin B3, this one vitamin. And they gave them the same circumstances. They were eating by the way, it was a cornfield that they were in. They said a monocrop cornfield to me that says ding, ding, ding. That's a GMO cornfield sprayed with pesticides, right? So they kept feeding them. They noticed, massive depletion in vitamin B3. So they studied their behavior, and what they were doing was the mothers were eating their young the day after they were born. They had a cannibalistic behavior. And so then they injected them with the vitamin B3 and the cannibalistic behavior stopped completely. And so that one vitamin prevented violent, horrible behavior. So my question is, if we are eating and our children are eating all of these massively mineral and vitamin depleted food, and I've seen the studies, I've had farmers send me studies of their tests, the nutrients in their food being tested. And I've sent it on to Dr. Don Huber that I mentioned before, the 60-year plant pathologist. And he said, Zen, if that came from my farm, I would be embarrassed to call it food. Like those mineral levels are abysmal. They're not even on the charts. They're like 0.004, 4 of magnesium in it. So our food is massively depleted of minerals. And one of the number one thing I would recommend to people to do is to take trace minerals and, really good clean vitamins and things like that, because you could alter a person's behavior like that. You really could be giving them exactly what they need. Of course, testing for it would be the most ideal thing, right? You as running a testing company, getting somebody's blood work done, finding out what are they depleted in would be the best thing first. And then, supplementing according to that. But that we can't ignore that anymore. We can't just say, oh, just eat fruits and vegetables. No, first of all, they have to be organic fruits and vegetables, because studies have shown 98% of the pesticide consumption that we consume comes from fruits and vegetables.
Right.
So if you're going to say to anybody, eat your fruits and vegetables, we have to say organic. It's just we are misleading. We're being inauthentic and part of the problem if we don't say eat organic fruit and vegetables. Right. So, thanks for letting me share about that, because that story is really points out to me how important minerals and vitamins are for the brain. Oh, and there's another book called Food and Behavior, The Natural Connection by Barbara Stitt. That's the very same thing. She studied a whole population of parolees, dropouts, serial killers, criminals. And the one thing that they all bragged that they had in common was that they lived on junk food. They're like, all I eat is Coke and Hot Pockets, right? Or pizza or whatever. I'm just saying examples. They bragged that they lived on junk food. And when she took when she changed that situation, when she put an entire school of 5,000 kids on whole healthy foods, got rid of the sodas and the junk foods and all that, their dropout rates went from, it was 5,000 kids. It was 500 were dropping out every year in that school. And they went down to 14. Wow. And a prison, she switched out the food in a prison, got rid of all the sodas and the junk foods and the processed foods and gave them whole healthy foods, which at that time, she was avoiding GMO. I'm not sure she was aware of it. But she was getting them healthier food. The recidivism rate for that prison switched. Instead of 70% coming back, 70% stayed out and didn't come back to prison and went on to college and things like that. So there's a massive connection between violent behavior, which we are just tragically being reminded of every day now, and the lack of vitamins and minerals in our food, which is primarily depleted because of the chemicals, the fertilizers and the pesticides that are being used in our current monocrop agrochemical farming system. So this is such an important issue. And I really thank everybody who's watching right now, who is just willing to be open to this, because we have the power to turn this around, especially moms. We buy 85% of the food. So if we stop buying it, they can't sell it. And we have the ability to transform the food system.
Absolutely. So in your continued dedication to education, you, besides moms across America, you started the Neighborhood Food Network. So what is that? And then how do people get involved?
Yes. Well, thank you. We started the Neighborhood Food Network just a couple of months ago. I think it's about 2 months ago now. It's really the pilot program right now. So if you go to neighborhoodfoodnetwork.com, you're seeing the, I don't want to say a basic website, because we've got a lot of information on there now, but it's a website in progress, right? It is growing. And the Neighborhood Food Network was inspired by the Neighborhood Watch program, the Neighborhood Crime Watch program. I don't know if you've seen on your street those eyes where it says, this is a Neighborhood Watch program, which I initiated on my street back in a suburban California neighborhood, just on my street, because I wanted to connect with my neighbors. And I also had the ulterior motive of meeting all my neighbors so I could ask them to stop spraying Roundup, right? I wanted to live in a Roundup-free community, which mostly worked. So I got to meet a lot of people there. But when I did that Neighborhood Food Network program, the Neighborhood Watch program, the requirement for them, we don't have this, but they required, because there were policemen that come out, on the job, for you to have a representative from 50% of your street, the households on your street. So if you could do that, they would come out and give you a talk about how to prevent crime, lighting and trees and, all different types of things, landscaping issues that would prevent crime. And also they talked about emergency preparedness. And I didn't know this. I don't know, most people may not know this, but if you live in a suburban neighborhood and you get your water from the city, if the power goes down, your water stops too. There's nothing pumping the water to come into your house. So your toilets don't flush anymore. You don't get water. You can't shower. You can't drink from your faucet and fill your Brita and all that stuff. So you need to have 2 weeks worth of water on hand in your home at all times if you want to be prepared. And most people don't have that. So, and they said 2 weeks because FEMA will not come out to residential areas before they go out to hospitals and senior centers and schools, you know, and all of those other places. So the residential areas are last on the list for FEMA. And so that was kind of a wake up call for me. And I started thinking about whether or not we're prepared for a crisis, right? As far as food goes, because we've all seen the food shortages being reported, the food prices hiking, you know, higher and higher, 30 to 40% in some cases. I mean, it's expensive now. I don't know if you're noticing.
Oh yeah.
The packages are getting smaller, way smaller, and the prices are staying the same for those smaller packages, and the food prices are going up. It's ridiculous what you are being asked to pay for now for, you know, especially organic food, which we do anyway, no matter what, we buy organic food. But so anyway, I got very concerned about food shortages and food prices and what would happen if we were in a crisis. And I saw in a prepper video that it only takes 9 missed meals for a person to resort to violence to feed their family if they're starving. And I'm thinking, okay, that's 3 days. That's a very short period of time for violence to start happening after a power outage, right? Or, you know, if people don't have any food in their home. And so maybe a week, right? If people have a couple days worth of food in their home or a week's worth of food. So, but when my friend in Florida was away out of town, when there was a hurricane in her town, her husband and her son were at their apartment and in their area. And after 3 days of the power being out, they had no more food in their fridge. And so they had to go to McDonald's for food. And they were the only ones with a generator that actually had food. And she said, you know, I'm really concerned if the power outage lasted 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, you know, like has in places, people are going to be, resorting to violence. And so I said, what if instead of a situation of scarcity and violence, we were empowered because we were working in partnership with our neighbors? What if we connected with people in our neighborhood, like actually went door to door and had, you know, a meeting like the Neighborhood Watch program, but a neighborhood food network meeting. And we talked about how to grow food, you know, how much food we're growing, or, you know, what types of food we want to grow. Because, you know, we had a neighbor in Southern California that had a lemon tree, and she must have given away 300. It wouldn't have made any sense for all of us to have a lemon tree, right? It would have been a good idea for people to coordinate, right? Like, okay, they have a lemon tree. I'll have 2 orange trees. I'll have, you know, 2 fig trees, right? We can all just swap and share. Yeah. And so some people that I've talked to about this idea have said, oh yeah, we're kind of already doing that, but we don't have a structure for it. We don't have a call, you know, we don't have like experts to answer questions. And I was like, well, that's what we're planning on doing. Monday night calls with experts and other people who are growing food. We have sometimes people who pop on. We're like, oh, you're today's expert because you're talking all about, you know, I don't know, how to collect rainwater or whatever, right? So we have people that come on that surprise us too and give us some really useful information. And so the idea is to invite, inspire, and excite your neighbors to grow their own food and to source their food locally. So if they're not into growing their own food, they could be the one to make a list, say, of the local small farmers that sell eggs or meat or dairy, you know, or other foods that, or like flour, for instance, you know, if you are lucky enough to have any wheat farmers nearby you, you know, to be able to buy those foods locally and support local farmers. That's like, should be at the top of the list for, you know, what should be happening in communities right now is supporting local small farmers. Because the fact is, if there is a crisis, which, you know, more than 1 or 2 scientists are predicting will be, if or when there is that crisis, the only way we're going to survive is if we have access to local food. And if anybody has read the book 1 Second After, I hate to recommend it because some parts of it are so horrible because humans can be so horrible. But it really is an eye opener to the process on what would happen if there is some type of catastrophe and how you need to get prepared. Like there's things in there that I never imagined you would need to have in order to be prepared in a time of crisis. And so I recommend it for that educational reason as well. But the Neighborhood Food Network is not just about preparing for crisis. It's also would bridge political divides, right? Get people together, even if there is no crisis. You're not going to care if somebody's a Democrat or Republican or whether they're vaccinated or not vaccinated if they're coming at you with a basket full of food, right? And you're hungry. So it will bring, and I think we need to come together now. Like enough
Yes.
with this distancing thing. We need to come together. We need to connect with people. We need to support each other. And that community aspect and the good health, by the way, you don't have to worry about GMOs if you're eating a zucchini out of your own garden, right?
Exactly.
And, so that's all obsolete. And so it's really transforming the food system in a way of like actually creating a parallel food system. We are going to take matters into our own hand. We are going to make sure that our neighbors have access to local food, and come what may, we're going to be connected and compassionate and supportive of each other.
That's triple win. It's not even double. That's like triple.
Yes.
Okay, I know like running out of time a bit, but like I still have one last question because I want to talk you to talk a little bit about your book, Unstoppable.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, you can see the cover right behind me right there, the Rosie the Riveter lady that has a fork and a knife in her hand. Yeah, that's my book, Unstoppable. I wrote it a couple of years ago. It was about my journey and about the journey of so many moms and traveling cross country, dealing with the food system and the EPA and scientists and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really proud of it, especially the collective input by farmers and scientists and many different people like Food Babe and Carrie Gillum and lawyers and farmers and, all kinds of people that contributed. Dr. Vandana Shiva and Pam Larry that started the GMO food labeling initiative, so it really is many parts of it are a community effort, but it's also my story. And people have told me that it's authentic and raw and emotional. People have cried. But mostly out of being able to relate to it. So many people have children that they have struggled with their health issues so much, and they just feel really moved that because they can relate standing for their children and doing whatever it takes. And I have to say that, a lot of people have asked me, how did you do what you did? And, how do you keep going? And, all that kind of stuff. And I have to say that I did what any mom could do or would have done in my circumstances. I really believe that. I just think more moms didn't do what I've done because they have a kid who is severely autistic, right? And they just couldn't devote the time that I did to it. Or they have cancer, so many activists have cancer, or they have an autoimmune disease, and they just don't have the energy to do what I did. So I just feel really blessed to be able to be a representative of those moms that would have done exactly what I did if they had, the time and the support system, like my husband who supported me through all of this, and my kids who have been phenomenal, like packing envelopes and sending out seeds and brochures to hundreds of volunteers across the country. My kids have done this so much, so much of this work as well. And I just feel really grateful, very, very grateful that I've been able to do this work for this long.
That's amazing. It really takes a village.
It really does. Yes. And I absolutely do not claim credit for, all of this or any of this. Is really, my board has been wonderful, and our team and our graphic designer and, the website people and social media people and all of that. And I have to make one appeal to everybody watching, is that our social media has been severely impacted by censorship. And so if you like this interview, I really do ask you to share it. I ask you to share the links to our website. If you see, like right now, we want to create this like social media scout program, like because out of the Monsanto trial, right, Monsanto has been found guilty of causing cancer with their products. It was revealed that they had over 250 trolls out to attack people like me. Like I had character assassination attacks for 2 years. It was extremely stressful. And just comment after comment on Thanksgiving evening, New Year evening, Christmas morning, porn being sent to our website. I mean, like, just barraged by over 250 people on a pretty consistent basis. Well, here's the thing. What if we turned that around? What if we had 250 social media scouts from moms across America that was going out to social media, looking up the word constipation or IBS or cancer or, wireless radiation or whatever, anxiety, autism, whatever. And you guys posted links to moms across America's pages and said, hey, this organization helped me out, or this organization has some great information, or check out this product, or check out this article, right? What if we did that in a positive way and shared the truth? We would turn this around. We're at Million Marker too. Get these tests done, find out what's going on with you, and then get treated according to what you need to be treated for, So that's what we need right now. We need to turn the tide and drive the traffic towards the truth. And that's what I hope. Thank you, Mama Bear, for freedom. That's what I hope people will do. So you can join our Monday night Moms Connect calls. And we will, this one coming up on Monday is particularly about this type of activism in a new way, approaching it in a new way. And if you sign up for our newsletter on momsacrossamerica.org, you get the invitation to our Monday night calls every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, unless it's a holiday. Then we skip that Monday, but almost every Monday night.
You just answered my question, because I'm going to ask, like, okay, how do people join Moms Across America? Because
I jumped in there.
We have many moms and we have many future moms, so it's really important for them to know this information. And we also have one audience earlier asked, like, if this video is saved. We're definitely saving this video. We're also posting the video on YouTube, but we're also sharing it all across our social channel.
Thank you so much. I want to also add that our mission is to educate and empower mothers and others, right, with actions and solutions to create healthy communities. So we are not only for moms. We have a lot of dads and other people and caregivers and friends and family members that support our work and are involved in this work and are some of our greatest champions. And we have a Future Moms page as well. You mentioned that on our website. So we have a lot of great advice from professionals and experts and people who are like moms of 8 kids, things like that, that just have street cred because you got to listen to a mom with 8 kids,
Seriously.
So, so we have a lot of great, as you said, great information on our website that we have accumulated over time. And we have links to all of our data on our data page, to scientific studies that if you choose to dive into that, you have a link or a resource to give to your friends or family members that may be questioning what you're saying. We totally understand that. So we have the science to back up what we're saying.
Thank you so much for spending quite a bit of time with us. This is so informative. So I want to urge everyone to follow Moms Across America and also learn about all the services and all the data, all the information. And I will have everything in the LinkedIn bio promoting this IG Live. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you for being somebody who takes your time and energy out to listen to somebody talk about chemicals like this and, sharing it with people and being so, open and appreciative of this type of conversation, that this is the kind of conversation that's going to change lives. So thank you.
I think everyone needs to know this information, and the fact that you have digested and also like presented it in a really digestible way, that's so important. And I think that's also what's lacking in science, that scientists don't really talk about this, and a lot of people are just not aware.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, it's my privilege and honor, and I really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Yes, and we'll have more new project coming up in the future.
Yes, I hope so. We hope to work together more, and then I'll be interviewing you maybe. Okay. Thank you, John.